So this, some of you will be familiar with Zambia, some of you might not, but basically the country is shaped, I guess, if you think of it like a couple of butterfly wings with a small little body in the middle. But logistically, it's a really easy country to get around. I mean, a lot of people think kind of Zambia, like they think, where is Zambia? Or, you know, is it the same as Zimbabwe? There's a lot of kind of misconceptions, but actually it is a remote country, but it's really accessible. So there are a number of international airlines, which is really easy to get into the country. We've just had a brand new airport open, which Waja can tell you firsthand. And Bron, they flew out just yesterday or the day before. I can't remember now. So you know, it's really accessible. Lusaka and Livingston being the main hubs. And then we've got a number of kind of internal national carriers or internal airlines, as well as plenty of private charter companies as well. So there's also Mfui Airport in the east of the country where South Luangwa is, which is actually an international airport. You know, we've had guests arrive direct from Israel, direct from Belgium on their private jets before. So it's a small little airport. You wouldn't think it's international, but it is. So it's a really easy country to travel around and to get to. So you know, it's worth the effort when you're there. So yeah, that's a little oversight of Zambia.
And I would just mention right there, Glenn, that so I just came back yesterday, and I flew. Shout out to Enio and my amazing travel agent. But I flew through Qatar Airlines, and it was a very easy route to get from JFK through Doha straight into Lusaka. So that was a really, really great way to go right now for most people coming from the States. So we're going to jump into South Luangwa first. So as many people know, this has always been, you know, home of the walking safaris and has some of the highest density of leopards and also some of Zambia's most luxurious lodge. It is also really home to, you know, to the walking safaris, which was pioneered by Norman Carr. So with that, we're going to show you a couple of different experiences that we have to offer. But the thing I really want you to all take away from this is that with Time and Tide, we have all different types of experiences here and different types of camps. So Zambia is, of course, the only operator in Zambia to have a full walking circuit. And along with the luxury option of Chinzombo, which you can see on the map is just south of the Bush Camps properties, Time and Tide also offers guests the opportunity to walk from camp to camp with the four camps of Nchenja, Kukuli, Insolo, and Louis. We really have quite a few different types of experiences for you. The main ones, though, that you're going to find are going to be game drives, walking safaris, and of course, seasonal boating. I have thrown a couple of our pictures as well into here. So while you don't see myself, Glenn, or Bron in these ones, get ready to see those. But this is the type of game you can experience here. So everything from great lion sightings. We actually on our first day saw how many? I think it was 13 lion from 4 different prides on our first day.
13.
Yeah. And so that was literally just crossing the river from our camp into the park, and then boom, right away we had lion. Of course, you'll also find leopard, wild dog, as well as amazing birding. And I can't leave out the Thornycroft giraffe as well, which is a subspecies of giraffe that you can only really find in the Mfui area. So just amazing game you'll find in the South Luangwa. And this is one of our infographics, which of course I'll be sharing with everybody afterwards. But as you'll find with the 5 camps we have here, Chonzombo, which is the luxury camp, is open all year round. And then we have the 4 other camps, Kukuli, Mchenja, Insolo, and Louis, which are seasonal. So there's all different types of experiences you can enjoy during the whole year. Of course, we love to consider our secret season or green season between the months of December up until about April, which when the rains come in, we have great calving and of course, just healthy herds of plains game, which really lends itself to amazing photography. And then all the way to even, of course, when we were down there, I think, what month are we in? We're in August. So this is really, the height of safari season. So, seeing amazing prides of lion. But for me personally, it was the walking that really just lent itself to just seeing, great wildlife, great scenery, and really seeing the life just really come back. Even, without the high grass, we were able to really explore the area on foot, which is just so important. And Glenn, you've been you've been building up, and you were based in South Luangwa. Why don't you tell us some about what makes it so special for you?
Well, thanks, Roger. Yeah, so South Luangwa was my home for, well, I actually first went there in 2010, so it's been a big part of my life. It's a really special part of the world. You know, it's got something at every time of year. You know, often guests come and they say, look, if I was to come back, what's the best time of year to come? And it's really got something, like you've mentioned, throughout the year. And there's a bit of a misconception that South Luangwa is not great kind of, you know, during November through to April or May. When the rains come, and you know, typically speaking, you know, the rains arrive only late in the afternoon. And I always say to people, there's the exact same variety of game, but maybe not the same volume at that time of year. But you know, there's also amazing photographic opportunities, and so it is really an all year round destination with a lot to offer, and you know, known for its walking safaris as well. And the nickname, as the infographic mentioned, is the Valley of the Leopard. So if there's someone that is very keen to see leopard, you know, nothing is guaranteed, as we know in safari, but it's one of your best chances of seeing it.
I will say that we spent quite a few days looking for wild dog, and although we weren't able to find a new den that was actually hidden, our amazing guide, Philemon, had found a new den, and had, you know, even though you never make the promises, he was very confident we were going to find a new den with 14 wild dog. And even though we didn't find them, we spent a good 2 days looking for them, and just that experience alone was just so fun, tracking these wild dog through the bushes.
Very close. We came very close.
So close.
So Waja, I'll take us through time and tide Chinzombo. So I know there's a couple of people on this call that have stayed at Chinzombo. I think Lauren, I think you're one of them. But so yeah, time and tide Chinzombo is I guess our flagship property in the South Luangwa. It's a permanent camp, so it's open all year round, and it's quite small and intimate with only 6 villas and 1 family villa. What I love about time and tide Chinzombo is that it's you know, it's the right combination of luxury, but without forgetting where you are. So you can be lying in your bed and still hear the lion roar, but being completely comfortable. You know, so a lot of other kind of high-end lodges maybe kind of fall down the trap of doing too much glass and air cons and things like that, and you actually end up forgetting kind of, you know, where you are. But Chinzombo, I think for me, strikes the right balance of, as you can see, grass walls and canvas roll up fronts, but also, you know, your own private plunge pool, spa therapists, and, you know, so many different amenities and facilities. You know, you can have a nice bubble bath whilst you watch the sunset. So it's a really beautiful camp. It's really well received. A lot of people like to do it after the bush camps, you know, after the seasonal camps, for a bit of R&R and kind of, you know, to try and avoid the 5 o'clock or 5:30 wake up call. Equally, it's also really great to use as a bit of a way to acclimatize, you know, so if you've come off a long flight, if you're not kind of that au fait with the bush, it's a nice way to kind of break yourself in. I can't read and speak at the same time, so I'm going to ignore the comments for now. And to break yourself in and then, you know, get into the real camps. So it's a really spectacular place. You know, it's, as Raja mentioned, we have a private boat that just goes directly across the river. So it's like a 30-second boat ride. So it really maximizes your time in the park. You know, even though it's actually outside the park, you know, there's no time wasted kind of driving to the main gate or queuing. You know, you only go through the main gate when you first arrive from the airport, and after that, it's all through the private boat access. So, you know, we really try and focus on service at Chinzombo. You know, we've got everything from a curated library in each room to spa therapists, which can kind of give you a treatment at any time of day or night, you know, in-villa dining, special dining. So we really try and be as flexible as we can at Chinzombo. And it's a really special camp, and we're really lucky to have it as part of our portfolio. And hopefully, Raja, you found it the same when you stayed.
Oh, yes, I did. Not enough time.
Exactly. So then, as we go out of Chinzombo into the national park, so we've got 4 seasonal camps which are inside the national park, and I always say we're really lucky. You know, being the oldest safari company in Zambia, we, I guess, had the first pick of the different locations in the national park. So, you know, our 4 camps offer really something really special in each location. The first one we're looking at now is Time and Tide and Changer. So Muchenja is actually the local Nyanja name. It means ebony tree. So it's kind of based on the grove of ebony trees that lies at the back of camp, which in itself is a bit of a spectacle because it's really popular for baboons to roost in at night. The leopards therefore love it because obviously they like to catch the baboons and to eat the baboons. So it's always action-packed in the grove behind. Lions often come to drink there. So Muchenja is really special in that it's our one camp that has a swimming pool. So for those guests that kind of, maybe don't like siesta so much and they want to kind of sit by the pool with a drink or in the swing chair and watch, there's a little elephant crossing point nearby where the Ellies like to use to cross from our side to the Nsefu sector and the other side of the river. And it's got your bathtubs in the rooms as well. So really romantic rooms, and with the ebony trees in the back, I guess romance is kind of a good word to describe Muchenja. So really popular with honeymooners, and it's also in a really game-rich part of the park, right on the banks of the Luangwa. So it's got something for everyone, and yeah, incredible night skies as well. Thankfully, that's in all of our camps, but yeah, Muchenja as well. We've got bean bags, which we can pull out on the grass, and you can lie back in the beanbag with a glass of wine and look at the stars at night. So it's a really special spot. And sorry, so if there is a bit of a lag, it's not because I haven't been in the bush too long. I'm not slow. It's just the internet connection. So Tide Kukuli. So Kukuli is just kind of further south, downriver from Muchenja. It's about a 6 kilometer. It's about a 6 kilometer walk from Muchenja. So Kukuli is also a really special camp in that it's the camp that we also open during our we call it Rivers and Rainbows. So during the rainy season. And again, the rainy season is a term I don't really like because it kind of makes you think of maybe London where it just rains all the time. But it's on high ground, so it doesn't flood. So it's a beautiful base to kind of boat from Chinzombo up to Kukuli. It's got a beautiful high that overlooks a lagoon in front of camp, and really special little camp. 5 rooms, one of which is a family room. Kukuli is actually the nickname for Norman Carr, who was our founder. It's also kind of a word used to describe a kind of like an old buffalo bull. So this was the camp that I first actually went in 2010 as a camp host, and what got me hooked on what is now Time and Tide, at the time Norman Carr Safari. So a really special property. And great for all walks and drives. So it's got great loop road network, but equally, as we experienced, Waja and Bron, and with Sarah as well, Philemon, who's the camp manager here, and I've seen has got a couple of fans on this call, took us for an amazing walk in this area. So it's a really, really special camp. So now we move a little bit inland to Time and Tide in Solo. So if you remember the map earlier on, Insolo is kind of based further west into the park, and it's actually situated on the Lui River, which is a dry riverbed kind of basically from April through to December. The riverbed's dry. So again, it's a small, intimate camp, only 5 rooms. Really popular with wild dog in this area. They often den quite close to Insolo, and also lion prides. There's actually a pride called the Insolo Pride, who are always in the area. It's amazing with these it's got these amazing wooden verandas or balconies, I guess, for lack of a better term. So you can sit out and look at the riverbed and see what comes through. The riverbed is it's often used as a bit of a highway for animals, for game. They use it as a means of kind of getting from A to B without having to kind of traverse through the bush. So a really popular kind of game spotting spot from the decks at Insolo. So another really special place, slightly elevated, unlike the rest of the room. So you're off the ground a little bit at Insolo. And you can see in that photo, a really cool thing to do is a riverbed dinner where we take the table and everything out into the middle of the riverbed under the stars. We kind of make fires around the table because it's not unusual to have, a curious lioness come and, look at the table from about 100 meters away, or especially a hyena if we're having a braai. The smell travels quite far, and the hyena come and have a look to see what's going on. So a really beautiful camp for walks as well. But we have, there was also a few years ago, people used to think Insolo was just a walking camp, but that's definitely not the case. We've drastically improved the road network, so you can do walks or drives at Insolo. It also means honey guide. It's the local term for a honey guide, the bird. That's where the name comes from. Oh, and then to Time and Tide Louis. So this is probably our most remote camp. It's the furthest inland. So when you're at Time and Tide Louis, if you've got guests that say, look, I've been to the Mara, I've been, to the Serengeti or whatever, and I just really don't want to see crowds. I like my peace and quiet. I like to kind of really immerse myself into nature and not really see anyone. This is probably one of the best places you can go in the Luangwa anyway, and probably the whole of Zambia actually for that same reason. So again, a really small little intimate camp made completely out of natural materials. One thing to mention is all 4 of these seasonal camps we build every year. We knock it down at the end of the year and we have to build it all back up again. And it's the same team that work in the camp for that season that actually build it. So there's that great sense of kind of ownership and pride over the camp when guests come and, our team welcome them into their own camp. So you can see here in these photos, it's again situated on the Louis riverbed where it gets its name from. And we're actually really lucky with Louis. We've got our own lagoon only about 100 meters away from camp, which actually holds water all year round. So we've got a beautiful hide there, and it's really popular with hippo, crocs, elephants, really big bull elephants that come to Louis. In some parts of the Luangwa, you often hear people saying, oh, Luangwa's actually got quite small elephant compared to other places, which is actually true. But Louis seems to attract these big bulls that come from the escarpment, these big majestic bulls that walk through camp. So a really, really cool little camp, really good for walking. Again, we also do driving from there as well, but it's a really good walking area. And it's the kind of camp where, you want to kind of look at the small things, take your shoes off and walk through the sand of the riverbed, learn how to make a fire using elephant dung, that kind of real immersive experience for those that have done a lot of safaris before and maybe just want to kind of try something a little bit different. So it's a really, really special spot in that respect.
And just to touch back on what Glenn was saying about these being seasonal camps, all these camps get built within 4 weeks from start to finish every year. So Glenn has always been part of that team, and it's just amazing to see, how they do it, and when it's done, of course, when the season is over, the whole idea and mandate is that the camps have to go back to, the areas have to go back to a natural state, right, Glenn?
Correct. Yeah, it's part of because we lease the land from the Zambian government inside the national park. No one can own land in the national park. We have to return it to how we found it, basically at the end of every season. So it's a real adventure. Literally when we first try and break into camp on the first, normally around early April. It's an adventure getting there. We get stuck a lot of times, get covered in mud, but it's quite a good team building experience in itself. And yeah, it's stressful, and it always comes down to the wire. But every year so far, touch wood, we've managed to do it in time to welcome the first guests. And the guests don't know that they're the first. They think that the camp's been there forever, and they don't quite believe you when you tell them, 4 weeks ago we were still cutting the grass in the middle of the bush that now make up their bedroom walls. So yeah, it's quite a special process.
And a big thing to note about the bush camps properties is that these will be digital detox properties. There is no Wi-Fi here, as opposed to, say, Chinzomba, where you've got Wi-Fi throughout the camp. So for any of those clients who are coming in, you should really, be aware of that. And, we have advised them to take internet dongles if they can, while they're doing this portion of their trip. But of course, when they mixing this with other camps, as you're going to see throughout this presentation, those ones will have Wi-Fi and internet access. But when you're here at the bush camps, they are quite basic in that manner. We really do want our clients to encourage them to digital detox. So of course, we know that we as travel professionals and our clients, of course, want to have Wi-Fi and all that experiences. So that just must be something that you keep in mind when you're sending them over here. And again, what I've advised to any clients who have a problem with that is advise that they get a dongle or just a hotspot they can use, a mobile hotspot, and that's the best way to be in the bush camps and still have access to the rest of the world. So, these are some photos of us and our trip that we did last week. Big thing for us was, of course, walking safaris. So that's us out with Philemon, who Lauren also knows, going out for an amazing walking safari. I think we did about 3.5 hours on this one. Which was
it was about, sorry, I was just reading the comments about regards to Wi-Fi. No, totally. But yeah, the walking safari, I think it's just such an interesting way of doing something, different, obviously, in opposed to, a game drive, and you just learn so much. And, obviously Philemon's name's been thrown around here a lot, but all of our guides, it's just, it's so interesting to learn, habitats of animals or behavior patterns, and you just never know what you're going to walk into. Potentially, so a little bit of adrenaline, and also just a nice bit of exercise. When you're out in the bush as well.
And one of the most amazing experiences that we had, which I want Glenn to chime in quickly, is about Seka. We actually got to watch a play when we were in the bush. So that's the picture on the bottom left that you're seeing. So Glenn, tell us a little bit about Seka.
Cool, thanks, Roger. Yeah, so Seka, just an amazing little organization that are based in Mfui, and they basically use drama and theatre to portray important messages, and they have different plays depending on their audience. So we like to bring Seka in when we've got guests in camp as a kind of an added kind of a special for them. Everyone does special sundowners and bush brunches and bush picnics, and that's amazing. But Seka is also another way of, one, supporting a local organization, and two, also trying to instill in people the actual message that they bring. So this actual play, yeah, that's correct. That's the spelling. So this actual play is basically trying to show that there's a young lady that is saying, I want to move to Lusaka, I'm sick of the bush. And her uncle basically teaches her the lessons that the bush teach her in terms of looking after one another, respect, kindness, and things like that. So it's an amazing experience, and it's done in a how do I put it, in a tasteful way, because I know for me personally, sometimes some cultural kind of experiences are a little bit showy, and you feel a little bit awkward at times and things like that. But this is really, it's wholesome, it's genuine, it's something that these guys do for a living, and we've used Seka in the past for our team, to do panels and kind of training with our team to kind of give lessons about sexual health, to give lessons even in domestic violence, so they make a play with in order to kind of illustrate these important messages. And so it's not only guests that use Seka, it's also our teams who we also kind of use their services, but they add a bit of a different dimension to a typical safari, which is quite cool.
Thank you, Glenn. So now we're going to move on to Lua Plain, and I'll let Bron take it away.
Cool, thanks, Waja. I know Waja's already said to me, because we didn't get the opportunity to get down to Lua Plain and King Lewanika, so
not bitter about
he's
it
already
at all.
planning his his next trip. I think he did that quite wisely, so that he could get back sooner rather than later. But Lua is it's a vast savanna plain. It's been protected for over 100 years. And I think a lot of you might know the story of Lady Lua. I know there's, I don't know if Glenn can correct me here, but I know there's a legend around King Lewanika's, I think it was his, one of his beloved wardens, his daughter, that was reincarnated as Lady Lua to protect the plains. So there's a lot of legend and a lot of cool stories that surround Lua. But, I think one of the magical things about this area, and one of the things that Time and Tide can offer as a remote destination, is we're the only camp in the park. Waj, I don't know, on my side, it's not changing any slides. Perfect. And again, this really cool infographic that Waja will send to you guys, or I can send to you, but just sort of showing our opening and closing dates. So traditionally, this is kind of the opposite from your traditional, high season or peak season safari time of year to travel. So we actually open from October and close mid-July. The reason for that is the wildebeest, in terms of the migration that we're able to offer here as well, they actually start coming down sort of in a circular motion from the north in about October. So this linear sort of effect that you see here happens in around October, and then they come and they stay near our camp, King Lewanika, and they carve, and they're in and around camp for months and months, and then they head back up north in around July. And because they go so far north, the predators and all other species sort of follow them. So there's not a lot of game to see, unfortunately, hence the reason we close. We do have a dream of having some fly camps a bit further up north in those months, so we can offer a safari all year round. But I think just this picture really depicts the experience that your guests will have. We don't have the hundreds of thousands of wildebeest that East Africa has. We've got tens of thousands, but I think when this is your view and this is your experience, it doesn't really make a difference. I mean, to be alone in a national park, nothing else around you, I think it's something quite special. And I think, this is the beauty of Zambia and how it really is, a hidden experience or something so unique. And, again, time and tide, being pioneers in these remote destinations, we're able to offer something, completely new, especially for your, guests that have traveled to Africa, they've fallen in love and they just want to come back and see something a little bit more raw and authentic. We can definitely offer that in Lua, and obviously combining with the rest of our destinations. And then sort of, species-wise, it's also a really interesting destination for our species. The hyena is actually the apex predator here, which is unheard of. So you get these big fat hyenas. In actual fact, all the animals in Lua are quite big. You can see on the bottom picture there, the lion I think the lion in that picture is 3 years old. You can see really massive, and the little cub is 6 months. It's just sort of unseen. And then obviously, we've got zebra. We don't have, the word I'm trying to look for is giraffe. And we don't have hippos and crocs just because of the landscape. But we do have cheetah and also an amazing birding destination. So, Lua is a recovering ecosystem. We work very closely with African parks. And it's a great combination with the South Luangwa, where you're going to get your kind of real big cats, heavy game viewing, experiences. For guests to come and in one trip be able to see, apex predator of hyena, cheetah, and then across to the South Luangwa or Lower Zam to see leopard and lion. It's I think it's really special. And then the camp itself, we've built it with a very sort of soft footprint. We also have 6 villas. One is a family villa, so we do accept children in this destination. All sort of, again, solar power, but we do have Wi-Fi. And all the villas have been built, again, with obviously amazing stargazing opportunities from, either your room or in the main area. So a lot to offer guests, alongside also, sorry, I know we don't have a picture in here, but also our sleep out, which will also be able to give guests that incredible view of stargazing. So just showing you the rooms, again, all open. Sorry, I just read your message. All open for you to enjoy the wildebeest in and around camp.
Thank you, Bron.
Cool.
And of course, now the Lower Zambezi, which is where we just came back from. So literally 36 hours ago, Bron, myself, and Glenn were in sleep out tents in a mountain. And now I'm back in my apartment in Brooklyn. So I'm really I'm struggling right now, guys. But Lower Zambezi has always been a place that I've has been very, very near and dear to my heart. Working in Zambia for the past, over 16 years, I've started in Lower Zambezi, and that was the first place I ever went canoeing, and the place where I saw the land of the giants. And for anyone who's been on my Instagram over the past couple of days, I'm sure you saw the sightings we had of elephants outside my room. So Lower Zambezi is open every year from April until November. And while July to October is the peak season, you'll find that some of the most amazing experiences are even that August to November period where we have the canoeing. But of course, you'll find great sightings of lion, leopard, of course, tons of hippo and crocodile because of the rivers, as well as birds. So, this is an amazing birding experience, and, it's a vast amount of a variety of activities as well. So we'll do everything from our typical game drives and from walking safaris to boating, canoeing, and of course the sleep outs. So there's really just a ton for you to experience here. We did actually do the canoeing was that on Saturday? I think we did it. And I think, right, what day is it today? I think it was Saturday. We're gonna go with Saturday. So we fished all day on Friday, and we canoed on Saturday, and had to go through some hippo pods. The hippos were quite friendly, didn't scare us too much. Of course, we had two people, I won't say their names, of our group who were a little bit skittish to get into the canoes, but we convinced them. And it's a truly amazing experience. So while a lot of people might get a little bit skittish about this, there's really, truly there's no better way to see wildlife in such a unique way other than walking safaris to the canoeing. So to be able to do this experience for about 2 to 3 hours on the canoes, and then also do fishing and game drives and walking all on the same day, it really does lend itself to amazing sightings and amazing experiences. So out in Lower Zambezi, we've got the Chongway properties, which consist of 3 different properties. That is Chongway Camp, Chongway Suite, as well as Chongway House. So as you can see right here on the Chongway River, which connects to the Zambezi, we're right across the river from Zimbabwe. So that's what you'll be looking at, especially when you're up in the mountains. And Chongway Camp is 9 river-facing tents, all with ensuite bathrooms and Wi-Fi. We do actually have Wi-Fi at all the 3 different styles of properties here. And it's just beautiful open air showers and, just beautiful views of the river. We actually got to listen to Lion, and his name is actually Stranger because he's a solo lion. And he would, I guess the nicest way to put it is he would lull us to sleep every night. That's the best way to describe Stranger, right?
Definitely.
Or wake you up at 4 in the morning.
Yeah, when he sounds like he's at the foot of your bed. Yeah,
he's actually across the river, but yeah, he sounds pretty close. And we actually got to stay at the Alberta Suite. So we have both 1 and 2 bedroom suites with the Chongway Suites, which is a really great option for your clients. These will come with a private plunge pool, private lounge, dining area, and campfire. We had our own camp staff as well at this camp, which are also right on the same pathway as tent. So it's really easy to have some clients at suites and also at tent without people feeling that they're too separated from each other, which is really great because you have your own sense of privacy here, as you can see from these beautiful rooms, while also being connected to the rest of the property. Now, the third property we have here is Chongway House, which is the exclusive use house with 4 bedrooms, which is also available and really great for any families or groups that you may have. Open from April to November. This is really a bit of a hideaway camp. We got to canoe by it and of course visit it while we were there, but with your own private swimming pools, guides and activities, and your dedicated staff, this is a truly, truly amazing experience for your clients and for your guests. So it does have a bit of a Flintstones looking look to it, which is we often get told. And on the picture in the bottom right, you might be able to see some of that rope right there. That is what we like to call our anti-leopard rope. So that will make sure that the leopards don't become too interested to come into camp. Of course they won't, but it does give that sense of security for a camp that is also or a house that's very open and of course with no fencing. So one of the other highlights that I would be remiss if I couldn't talk about is Chris Liebenberg, who with his father built these camps, and it was based here. He's based between here and Lusaka for most of the year. And, you know, he's an absolutely amazing person to talk to, as well as his whole team. So when you're down here, whether you're talking to Chris or any of the cooks or Flossie or to any of the guides, I mean, everyone just is absolutely amazing. And you really do get a sense of a very community aspect at Chongway, which I really loved. Now let's talk about the signature sleep outs, Bron. This is one of the things that really no one else does in the same way that Time and Tide does. So let's divulge.
Yeah, and I think that's well put, Waja. Absolutely. I think, you know, we really have nailed something completely beautiful and unique. And as you can see, and I think anyone following on our trip, just these, you know, interesting designed, but very comfortable pods that you can sleep out. Just so that you know, you do go out with a guide, a chef, and a scout, so you're completely safe at all times. And you just sort of, you know, you're able to, you can see Waja enjoying the comfort of the pod there. But, you know, you go sort of early evening and then, you know, have a couple of gin and tonics and just really take in the amazing view behind you or in front of you. It's pretty much 360 degrees. And you settle down and have some supper and everything just goes quiet around you. You can enjoy some shooting stars throughout the night if you wake up. And yeah, you just, you sleep out and it's just something so special to add onto the experience. And I think, you know, so many people that saw our pictures, I think we really brought it to life this trip where people were like, where's that? And you know, oh my goodness, I can't wait to do that. And it's this, I think, something so incredible about having the opportunity to really be in the middle of nowhere and take in the African bush. So, you know, in terms of the sleep out offering, these pods or hammocks is what we offer in Lua and the Lower Zambezi. And then we offer the exact same offering in the South Luangwa, but it's a mosquito tent with a very, very comfortable rollout bed. You can see it's in a dry riverbed, the dry Louis riverbed, and very, very similar setup where, you know, your dinner gets cooked for you, you know, amazing sundowners and, you know, beautiful glasses, and just sort of chatting the night away and really immersing yourself in nature. So here's obviously a picture of the South Luangwa offering.
And, you know, so for anyone who's wondering, so we do this for one night for our guests. And for anyone who even, you know, might be a little bit skittish, we can even take them up there and to see if they, you know, if they want to sleep up there. And if not, I'd say 99% of guests will say yes. And again, you're up there with a scout and a guide, and it's totally secure. We're in safe areas. We did, when we were in our pods, as you can see from the photos of Bron and I, we did hear some rustling in the bushes at night, and it turned out it was just a civet, which is just a massive cat, so, or just a big household cat. So no worries there. You know, our guards are right there. We had, you know, all safety precautions around us. So for anyone, even your first time safari goer, this is truly a unique experience that I've really only experienced here, as opposed to being in the Pans in Botswana. And this is, again, very, very different. And the views we had of, you know, during the day, in the morning, and even in, you know, middle of the night, looking at the stars was just absolutely breathtaking. So I can't impress on this enough that any clients who come must have a sleep out experience with Time and Tide.
And just to add to that, Waja, you know, we do keep a room in camp. So if guests were, you know, I think it's only ever happened to us once that guests wanted to actually return. But if they did want to, you know, there is that option. But yeah, completely safe. You know, I know the scouts and the guide take turns in staying awake. So, you know, there's nothing to worry about. I was scared to mention the rustling of the bushes and the potential civet in case anyone got scared off, but it is it is completely safe. And yeah, something that we really, you know, if you're sending guests to Time and Tide, we'd love for you to try and push so that everyone can experience something like this.
And just to add to that, we did also have 2 children with us. We had 2 11-year-olds with us. We do actually do allow children at all the Time and Tide properties. And I must say that the kids were probably the most fearless of anybody.
Yeah.
They were just walking about. They jumped into their tents. They really didn't, rustle around too much. And that really just goes to show that even for adults or for kids, especially for just speaking to children, all of these experiences that we do as adults are available to kids as well. Of course, we do have age limits for certain experiences, but what we really like to do is really just, see how the kids will react to certain experiences, and we'll base, whether we can do something like a sleep out or a canoe on that. So this is totally available. It's not just for adults, and it's really amazing for families. This is definitely something I would like to do with my family. And I think having Rana and Race with us really did prove that the kids can do this, and it can be done in a very safe manner. And they really learn a lot throughout the whole experience.
And just to add one final thing, this is a private activity, so we wouldn't put you with guests, or your guests, with guests that they didn't know. So this would be booked exclusively. It's a minimum of 2 people, and then we would set up the sleep out in any of those destinations. But it is private, so you wouldn't be with someone that you didn't know.